Now, okay, second part of this. Deprivation theories. Several of you wrote papers in which you described why somebody in conditions of slavery would then turn to a religious hope and a religious faith in order to get through their experience. That notion of why people are religious has been titled in the field of religious studies as a deprivation theory. That is, it's a theory that people get religion when they are deprived of other things. It's a theory that suggests there's a kind of neediness to people, or a psychological need that leads people to religiousness. Now, part of what we're doing in this course by approaching religion as an orientation to the ultimate significance of one's place in the world is we're actually we are stepping right over deprivation theory, and we're leaving that idea behind. Because in this argument that religion is an orientation to the ultimate significance of one's place in the world, it does not matter whether you are a king or a pauper. As a human animal, you need a story that provides you with past, present, and future. These three major orienting points in every human's life that help them figure out, where do I stand? What is my ultimate significance? Kings do it, paupers do it, slaves do it. And remember, Olaudah Equiano saw the Bible because his master had a Bible. That's the first time he's tried to listen and talk to that book. The master was eating well, was dressed well, was making a ton of money. And if the master was still using a Bible, it suggests that it is not simply the horrors of slavery that lead people to ask these fundamental questions about the ultimate significance of their place in the world. And if you look today for evidence in America, if you look at the parking lots of your major denominational churches, of your Catholic churches, of your Protestant churches, if you look at the parking lots of a mega church, you're going to see plenty of fine cars. It is not the oppressed people heading into that church, right? It is people across the spectrum of American culture who are actively participating in a religious life. When you approach religion as an orientation to the ultimate significance of one's place in the world, you say that while many people live without gods, nobody lives without staking a claim on the landscape of identity. And it is that work of determining, of staking your claim, of being able to say, this is the significance of my position on this world. That is how I approach religion. It means I figure masters are doing it, slaves are doing it, and that people do not need to walk into churches nor to have divinities in order to do the fundamental work that helps them determine where did I come from, what is my ethics and morals for today, and what is the significance of my death for my community. People are going to ask the creation story, the past story. They're going to ask the present. What is it that I do today? That's their ethics and their morals. And they will always have that issue of mortality pushing in on them. What is the significance of my life for my community? So now, when we hit Cone this week, we're hearing a lot about oppression. And what I really didn't want is for people to think, oh, I'm hearing the word oppression again. Religion is for oppressed people. Cone is not doing deprivation theory. He's doing something else. So I want us to understand the difference in his use of the word oppression. So when we look at this, on page 1, he writes of theology, this means that its sole reason for existence is to put into ordered speech the meaning of God's activity in the world, so that the community of the oppressed will recognize that its inner thrust for liberation is not only consistent with the gospel, but is the gospel of Jesus Christ. There can be no Christian theology that is not identified unreservedly with those who are humiliated and abused. In fact, theology ceases to be a theology of the gospel when it fails to arise out of the community of the oppressed. For it is impossible to speak of the God of Israelite history, who is the God revealed in Jesus Christ, without recognizing that God is the God of and for those who labor and are overladen. Now, it might be easy to say, see, Cone is saying religion is for oppressed people. That is not the dynamic that is happening. Rather, what Cone is doing is he is appropriating theological discourse as a discourse that arises, if it is a Christian theology, he says, it arises from the experience of the abused and the humiliated. He is appropriating this thing called theology that had always functioned in the halls of the high churches, and it had taught in the fine seminaries that you could only get into after you had your college degrees, and theology had been as though it was above the fray, like this God talk business. We do this unimpacted by our position. Cone is appropriating the space of theological discourse as being appropriate for Christian theology when it arises out of the oppressed, rather than when it is arriving top down from the privileged. So, he is not saying that you are not religious if you're privileged. He is saying if you're going to do Christian theology, it is arising out of the experience of the abused and the humiliated, because that is the model of the Christ. So I'm hoping you can read through Cone, not thinking to yourself, oh, this means religion is for oppressed people. That's not what he's doing. He is reclaiming the ground of theology for those and saying it is original Christian theology when it arises from the experience of the oppressed. They are as profound in understanding what theology is as are others. In fact, they, because they are living it, have a more authentic theological work to do. I hope that helps clarify, because it's in your interest in your next stages of the paper not to describe religion as the thing that oppressed people do because they are psychologically needy. Rather, it is the thing people do while determining the ultimate significance of their place in the world. And what Cone has done is elevated the place of the abused and the humiliated as the authentic speakers of a Christian theology. So he has done an elevation to the status of theologian, of anybody whose experience has been of abuse or humiliation, and he is appropriating then the work of theology for liberatory purposes. And if it ain't liberating, it ain't a theology of Christ. Is how he's flipped the table and put those on the ground of authority for theological discourse as models of Christ, those who have been abused and humiliated. I hope that's of some use to you guys, and looking forward to heading into week 8 and stage 2 papers. And I really hope I have given you consistent and clear information. I won't say it ain't complex, because it is, but I hope it is clear and consistent. Thank you. Bye.